It is our first episode of Some People Like Us. My name is Ian. I got my buddy Brandon over here.
What's up?
Co-host. And this is a podcast for weirdos, goons, goofs, bozos, ding-dongs,
Turkey
and
birds.
the like. Turkey birds. And that is our guest for today, Mr. Stephan Cook. He's a violinist and a teacher and a cute boy and one of my best friends. And
Those are all the best things anybody's ever called me. Thank you. Wow.
And yeah, we're here today to talk about the weirdness that goes on in your life when you work in the service industry or in the bar industry, or for us musicians, like you just run into weird people and situations that sometimes make you question the choice of doing this for a living. Like, is this really where I am? Is this happening?
I've got a lot of weird things about teaching.
Yeah. Oh, I can't imagine. Like, and
Yeah.
the dichotomy of being a teacher during the day and like in that capacity, still doing the same exact thing, but like doing it during the daytime hours and having to be professional and Mr. Stephan and stuff, you know, and then at night ending up at the bar.
There's no difference.
Drunk people are a lot like children.
Very much. Very much.
How many, typically in a day, how many students will you have?
Typically, I can only take on about 6 to 7 students like a day. I think that's like maybe 8 would be maybe the pinnacle of that, you know. But for me, if I don't have to, you know, like, and the way it works for me is they the place that I teach at, they put me like 30-minute intervals with the students. So I have a different student every 30 minutes. So that kind of helps change it up. But really, they just fill that schedule. I'm only there, and specifically the fact that I play the violin, they kind of, you know, can't find other violin teachers because it's a dying, you know,
instrument.
Yes, and you know, I'm trying to preserve it. Let's put that out there.
Yeah.
But the main thing behind it is that you know, they kind of like fill that schedule because they can, you know, there's people out there that still want to play. But also, you know, there's no teachers for it. So
Yeah.
I'm the teacher. And
And it's a weird thing. Like, you know, there's a lot of kids that play violin because of orchestras and stuff in schools.
Yes.
But the orchestra director isn't doing lessons for them. So it's like all of a sudden there's just the creation of all these students with no teacher.
Yeah.
And then it's you.
Yeah. And then it's me, the guy who helps them get to first chair in the orchestra.
Right.
And they're like super crazy good, you know. They honestly, a lot of them, they take a, you know, it's like a very good place for them to come after school. And it's a place that from the get-go, as soon as the students come in the room, I tell them the first thing, I'm like, I am not like any teacher you've ever had. And I make sure that they understand that this is a safe zone. This is a place that, like, at school you may at sometimes feel like an idiot. You may feel that you don't understand what the teacher's talking about, or, you know, and a lot of other kids around you are like, yeah, I do. So you're like, I feel really insignificant right now. If you come into my room, you're not going to feel
It's one-on-one.
We're talking,
right?
yeah.
And
I'm going to treat you like,
and I'm
you know,
not
as
right.
long as you don't lie to me. Like, and
Yeah.
that's something I also lay out. Like, you can come in and tell me you didn't practice today or this whole week, you know, and I will give you the same respect as if you came in and said I practiced all week long. You know, I will say, you know, okay, well, you know, with a student who didn't practice, I will give them that opportunity at that point to, you know, basically.
Now we're going to go through that practice. So
yeah.
you will have done it this week.
Yeah,
like,
there it is. Yeah.
I'm still getting paid, but don't come in here and be like, I practiced all week and then clearly you didn't. Like that.
Yeah.
That can get tiresome, I would imagine.
Yeah.
It's have you been doing like Zoom lessons and stuff too, right?
Yeah. So that's like a different aspect, I think, that like prior to pandemic happening and everything, that they weren't even using that avenue through the place that I teach at. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't either, you know, with that being said. And so having that as like a different way to approach, you know, you have to kind of find a different way of looking at it, you know, of the teaching almost in like things are more out of a book and you can teach lessons from those books. Whereas before I would just teach those lessons and not really rely on what the book said and like things like that. But we're now like following through and like having like little like reading things, like let's read what this lesson talks about, and do you understand what this talks about, kind of more.
So like a whole new style of teaching that you have to adapt to.
Yeah, a whole new style of teaching, and like a whole new understanding too, that like, you know, what everybody is going through, you know, is some form of a trauma, and children are dealing with it in a whole different level than we as adults are dealing with it.
Dude, like, well, people say that our generation is messed up because 9/11 happened when we were, you know, like at a very formative age. Like, I can't imagine what is going to happen to this generation having like gone through the last year that we just went through. Like,
yeah, you have to have some form of professionalism walking into that situation, and like almost having an aura of like, because, you know, from them, for their perspective, they're used to sitting, you know, in a room with me and like interacting on that level. Now they're stuck in their bedroom, or, you know, they're at home, and like, you know, they're like new to this process. So I have to act like I'm not new to Zoom, that this is something I've done, you know, for
normalize it for them,
and then make them feel comfortable in that aspect and that setting too. And I've been able to keep students on both forms. I'm back to now in-face teaching, or like, you know, in-person teaching, but there's still students that I have taken with me through the pandemic, had been taking with me prior, and are still taking with me now, and they're still taking it, you know, via Zoom. So I've had to really, you know, learn that part of it, you know, which has been cool. It's been fine. And, you know, I've had some weird things. Like, with that being said, I think one of the weirdest interactions I've had on Zoom, and I may have mentioned this story in the past to you, but or more recently, one of my first students, I go to work, and she is supposed to be there at the lesson, and she's not. And then the secretary at the place I go to says, "Oh, the big sister just called. She's going to take her lesson on Zoom today." So I log on to Zoom on my telephone. I get on there.
Yeah.
She comes to the phone, or to the Zoom meeting, and she is in some clear form of distress. I can feel it through the computer or through my phone, like, and I can just see it in her face. And I'm like, you know, okay, like, not trying to dig too deep, because you don't know what you're dealing with on any, and I'm not trying to dig into family issues or anything. But she, you know, I'm like, "Can you go get your violin out?" At that point, I start noticing that she's only using one arm. And I'm like, okay, this is like a situation here.
Kind of hard to play a violin with one arm.
It's deeper situation.
We're going to have to talk about this.
So I'm like, you know, she gets the violin out, and then I'm like, can you play the strings on your violin to see if your violin's in tune? This is basic things we do every lesson to begin. And she tries to. She's like, well, she starts plucking it on the table, and I'm like, no, use your bow, like, please. And she's like, Mr. Stephan, I can't. And I'm like, no, you can do this, you know, like, what's in it? So she's like, I'm like, what's the problem here? And she's like, I can't move my arm. And I'm like, what? Like, you know, in like a very first thing comes to my mind is, where are your parents at? You know, you're on the Zoom lesson with me at home. You know, I also have in the back of my mind that your sister called in just like 5 minutes ago.
Why wouldn't somebody forward this interaction with, hey, just so you know?
Yeah, so she tells me that, like, they were in the basement, her and her sister were in the basement, and she just within the last like 10 minutes fell while jumping on a trampoline, and she thinks her arm is broken. And so I go immediately, I'm like, and again, I'm a clown. I'm like the clown teacher, the kid, the teacher. This whole month I've been dressing up as Americana jobs, like, for the students. So like, I've been a lumberjack. I've been a Navy person in the Navy. 1 week I was someone who drove trains for a living, so I wore overalls. Like,
I've done village people at work.
This whole month has been like that, and it's so these are the silly things. Like, the child, I go, "Are your parents home? Like, if your arm is, we can't, you know, like, where are your parents at?" And she's like, "Oh, my dad's at church and my mom's at school." I'm like, who is watching you right now? She's like, "My older sister, and she's the one that did this." And I'm like, as like a 34-year-old man who's, is teaching these people, I stayed on the lesson because I was concerned. Like, I was the most professional. I was like the best person at this. I was more of a babysitter then the babysitter that the parents left, which was the oldest, I was like, I should probably just so this girl doesn't like pass out from pain, or like I'm just gonna stay, because so then I can like be like, hey secretary, can you send call 911 to this girl, because I don't have their addresses or anything, but we need to like, this girl just
somebody has to do something.
Somebody has to do something.
I have to stay on the line.
So I waited till essentially the dad I saw, because the camera angle was like from their front room. The dad came through the door, and she like went and told him, and he came and apologized over the phone and things. But it was like a strange occurrence to be like,
he's like, I went to the church to pray that her arm would get fixed. Is it better? Like, what happened while I was gone? No, that's so weird.
Yeah. So those are the kind of interactions that I've, you're not gonna. She's not gonna drive there with her mom and then show up and be like, "Ma, Steph, my arm's broken." She did that.
Right.
It was like something I've never.
Hey, we're canceled this week.
And again,
my arm's broken.
Childish as I am, I felt I should be the one to watch over this situation, like from a freaking, from another screen. Call. Yeah, I mean, I had to. I had 30 minutes. They paid me for the 30 minutes, so that was going to happen. But
it's like one of those situations where it's almost insulting. You're like, what the hell? Why am I the responsible one here? This doesn't make any sense. I
would have left the phone on, sitting there on the taught another lesson while she was still there through the next lesson if they had showed up in the next, through that time. That's how I played that.
That's so weird. And then to know, and like I was saying, then later that night you went and played at some bar and was making poop jokes on a microphone and stuff.
Exactly. If the parents only knew what I was going to say later that night,
and that's kind of the whole idea behind this podcast.
The funny thing is, poop jokes are good for children too.
Oh yeah,
they love poop jokes. Like, poop jokes are good, and they don't go tell their parents because they think that poop jokes are funny, and they're embarrassed to tell their parents.
Little do they know, their parents like them too.
Dude, for real, poop jokes are good. Yeah, most comedians are held to a higher standard, and they're like, no poop jokes. But for me, I'm gonna go through the door all day.
Everybody poops. Why wouldn't you mention it? You can't just avoid the subject.
Well, I mean, there's things to pooping that are kind of weird.
Jokes that involve people walking. I don't like to use those.
I feel like when
why? It's everybody does it.
I feel like people who use too much toilet paper, like a mummy arm amount of toilet paper to wipe their ass.
Yeah.
I mean, this is true. There are scientists that are behind Cottonelle and all these companies that have come out. They have done the math. If you just use 1 or 2 squares and you can just get rid of all that stuff with a
dosage.
You're
1 or 2 squares.
Okay, but also just in this, keep in mind, if you're not washing your hands after using toilet paper, it doesn't matter that amount. So if you're wiping, if you're telling me right now, the reason is I'm going to get poop on my fingers. If you didn't wash your hands after you did that, then you're also a serial killer. So that's just but
just because I'm going to wash my hands doesn't mean I want poop on my hand.
Yeah.
And then devil's advocate,
you're not
you
getting
say
poop
this
on your
company
hand.
puts in all this research to make better toilet paper. They want you to use more toilet paper.
Yeah, of course.
It's not that much better. I'm sure, there's some Illuminati cabal that has the best toilet paper ever, where you really only have to use 1 square. But the stuff they're giving to Joe
Scott's.
Public.
If you're out there,
mum up.
If you're out there,
mommy.
If you're out there and you mummy every day, just one day, 1 poop, give a 2 sheet. It's already you're not using single ply.
No, I'm not.
There's already 2 ply there, and then there's 4 ply with the. Just give it a try. I'm not going to say anything. You're going to end up washing your hands anyways. I'm just saying. Just if you're out there.
Well, by that logic, though, I could just scrape my butt with my fingers. I don't need the paper at all. I'm going to wash my hands.
Some people just wrap their arm, though. I'm just saying, they wrap, and then they're like, what are you using? Your forearm? Or the thing that, when I get up out of a toilet, when I get up off of a toilet to wipe my butt, I literally get up and hover around and I don't do the one.
Go into
there are a lot
bowl.
of people that are sticking a hand inside of a dirty toilet bowl, and I mean that just seems strange to me. I'll get up and have a conversation with someone in another stall 2 over, and then at that point decide to use my 2 squares and just to wipey wipe, save the environment.
Me of that time in Louisville. Oh
yeah.
Stephan got horribly ill on the road. I mean, if we're already telling poop stories, screw it. He really was sick. But so we go to play in Louisville, Kentucky, and as we're getting there, I can tell Stephan's getting antsy and stuff. We get to the venue, and I immediately get out of the van. Like we had just gone on a long drive, so I'm like, first thing on my mind is a cigarette, you know. So I'm smoking a cigarette, and then I go in to go to the bathroom, and Stefan's already in there. And this place there was no door on the stall, but then also the side wall was only like half a wall. So like if you're sitting on the toilet, you could see you from like the chest up. And I walk, and then there was just one urinal right next to it. Like the urinal and the toilet are on the same wall.
And you look down,
and
at the
I
person
walk
taking a
in
turd.
to the bathroom, and there's a guy taking a pee at the urinal, and Stephan is just loudly having diarrhea. And he's just, him and the guy are making direct eye contact, and Stephan's just going, I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. And I like laughed so hard, I forgot I had to go to the bathroom. I just turned around and walked out. I was like, that was the best thing I've ever seen. You were so apologetic. But like, it's one of those things of life on the roads. You are going to eat something horrible and get sick inevitably.
Yeah.
And B, have to go to the bathroom in the worst possible places.
Yeah, we had a list of places not to eat at.
Yeah, I would keep an active list on my phone of like, if we're in Madison, don't eat at this place.
Yeah.
Like any place someone got sick from, I took note.
A lot of times you would forget, but like you'd be back there and you'd be like, oh, remember like.
I'd be like, wait a minute, is this place on my list?
Is this a
and
good
I'd pull
place
it up.
and that's why I remember it, or is it bad?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
The list
what a
was good
nightmare.
to have. It's good to have.
But that's all part of it, man. And it takes a very certain kind of person to be able to handle that reality. To like, yeah, I can eat my dinner out of a gas station, or I can also go to the bathroom in the same gas station where there's like.
I mean, road life was good life. Like we would somewhat get down on it, and not so much because of the it would be more the wear and tear, I think, of it than anything.
Yeah,
but
my body didn't like it.
My body didn't like it either. But the whole like being on the road and like doing having that pre-COVID and going from place to place. Like you showed me more recently a meme on your phone. And it said, maybe it wasn't you that showed me it, but somebody showed me it. And it was like somebody sleeping on the back seat of it. It was like in a Silverado. It was I looked at it and I thought, which one of us is that? Like, we traveled for years in the back of a Silverado. Like we did right.
Like he thought this was a meme I made. He's like,
I was like,
did
is
you
that
take
you?
that picture? And I was like, no, that's just like someone else's picture, but that is our exact reality.
Yeah,
like the floor is all muddy and stuff, and there's just like a guy's legs sticking out from like between the seats in the van and stuff.
And it said like, bet you miss being on the road now. And I looked at that picture and I thought,
I do.
I was like, I
that's
fucking
the
do.
weird
Like,
thing,
yeah,
is that like
I would do that.
There's something about it's like camp or something, like you just like with your guys and you're roughing it and you're like running into stupid situations. But for some, like I almost feel like when I tell stories about being on the road, it sounds like it sucks. Like I feel like other people listening would be like, that sounds like a nightmare. Yeah. And in reality, there's something wrong with me that I'm like, this is where I need to be, baby.
Yeah, I mean, like we have like glory stories of like, not, I'm gonna sit here and knock on wood, but like the times that like, we were able to get away from like the police, or like we've written songs about these things. In fact, we should play that song. We forgot about that song.
Oh yeah.
What? Anyways, there are like,
it's like the simplest things make you feel like you accomplished something. Yeah. When you're on the road, you're like, I didn't get a ticket. It's
like that one time, like I can specifically remember there was that time in Colorado that like we were playing at whatever that spot was up in the mountains, and like it was a touristy area, it was a ski area, and so this area only had 2 ski resort hotels that you could stay at if you were out of town.
Oh, yeah.
And so what the police would do in this one specific area was they would sit on the main strip where all the bars were.
Well, so there was like a little downtown area, and then there was like where the hotels were, and then
so
there was like one stretch of like mountain road in between them.
And so they watched us. They watched us load the van from the front of this venue. And I don't drink. I definitely
we
don't
know where these guys
it was
are
a brewery.
going.
It was a brewery we played at, so they knew we were out of town. They saw the plates on the van. They saw us like loading it. They knew it. And so they waited. And as soon as we pulled up, it was like the weirdest situation. But like right before he saw us, a fox ran right in front of the van, or like this red fox, and I swerved, and I missed the fox, and I like still pulled it together. And like this cop pulled me over. But so
he didn't see the fox, but he saw the swerve.
He saw the swerve, and he fucking pulls us over, and he comes up to the car, and he's like, "Yo, so you know, you were speeding going around that hill," and I'm like, first off, this is like one of the shadiest embankments of icy roads you could be on. Like,
and we're from Indiana, where like there's
I was like,
hill.
I was not speeding, dude. Yeah. And he's like, have you been drinking tonight? And I'm like, no, actually I have. He's like, where'd you guys come from? And like, essentially he kind of knew, I think, didn't he say you guys were playing at the bar or something? He saw you down at the bar. And I was like, so like, is this like, right then and there, I was like, this is kind of an entrapment thing.
Yeah,
like,
do you guys have a deal with the bar?
Yeah,
like every band we get through here, we'll send them your way.
So he's like, you haven't been drinking? I'm like, no. So, I forget even did he have me get out of the van?
I feel like he did. Like it was so funny, like because he was being so aggressive about it. Like he kept asking you, "So you sure? Oh, really?" Like being like really. And I was like, if it were anyone else in the van that was driving,
oh yeah, I think
they would have had at least 1 or 2 beers in them. But Stephan, like nothing. So it was just funny, like watching him argue.
Was this one of the situations too where you like? I think I started getting lippy almost in a sense.
Yeah.
And
like,
someone
when he,
called
like,
me down.
Back, I was like, hey, Stephan, don't.
Yeah, you were like, just go through the fucking motions.
Like, we're
dude.
literally
like
he can't do anything to us. We're like marijuana's legal here. Like,
yeah,
like
so it was like,
what even do we have to hide then? We're cool.
Yeah, the van didn't smell like we hadn't been smoking in the van because at the venue they gave us like a spot to smoke, and like so it was like this really cool situation where like I felt. Like I was like, okay, well, we just played the show. I was high off the show. The show was really good. The place we played,
adrenaline.
We were about to go back to the hotel. We were about to like, and then this happened, and I was like, I also didn't kill the fox. Let's put that in.
Right.
I also didn't murder an animal. You know what I mean?
Can you imagine like being in such a scenic, beautiful place and just smashing like the most beautiful wildlife?
And then he pulls me over, and I'm like,
He's like, that was an endangered fox, boy. Like, you Indiana boys are in trouble.
So I miss stuff like that, because we got away. He ran my stuff, and my stuff is fairly dirty, but he came back to the car and he didn't really give me anything bad about it. We went off, and things were okay,
Yeah, now like everything's all, like
questionable.
Doing live stream performances is so weird. Yeah, like to go from that life and experience to like finish a song on a live stream and
it's just silence.
You're met with the crushing silence of your home in existence. Like even at a bar, if nobody claps, there's at least the ambient sound of a bar. Yeah. So that like you can like tune or something, but like in between songs on live streams, it feels so weird, and it's so I don't know. Being an artist with social media and online presences is just weird in its own right. Like do you think you would look as fondly at like the heroes of the past, like if John Lennon had a Twitter or something? Like oh my God.
I mean, for real, like
it's like so impersonal yet personal at the same time. Like fans of the band that add me on Facebook or something, I have so much insight into that person and stuff, and most of the time it's stuff that I don't want to know. I'm like, oh, really? You're like that? I didn't need to know that.
Well,
we could have just had a normal,
I think you can find a lot of that stuff.
Human interaction, but like then when I see everything you post every day, then it kind of gets to be like, oh, I don't want to run into you at my show now.
I mean, if you watch a lot of these documentaries that they're putting out about a lot of these older acts, a lot of this stuff via, not even the fact that it was documented because there was a person there, a writer for, Rolling Stones magazine, or, that was specifically doing a job. And like, so the quotes that they would hear from these people, and a lot of the stuff that like, that's where I think, at least I'm taking, my opinion from it. Like, but it was
right. But that's what I'm saying is like,
if it was there
back in that day, you had to find that magazine or you had to find that article. Like, and even then it's only, interview to interview or something. It's not like every day you see an update of now they did this, now they said that, like that's what makes it so weird is there's no filter on anything. Like even an article in a magazine or an interview, they can do the interview and write the article, and then even their editor can be like, let's not put that in. There's some like breakdown between that. But then with, when an artist has a Facebook, or conversely the fan has a Facebook, and you just see their instantaneous thoughts all the time, and sometimes you're like, ew, or sometimes you're like, weird, or sometimes you're like, I mean, it does work in the opposite way of you're like, wow, I have a lot in common with this person, but some of it is just like, and I get the feeling that I'm sure they would say the same thing about me, they're like, man, I like that band, and then like the more I like saw their online presence or something, those guys are weird, or whatever,
I'm just happy.
There's no mystery to anything anymore.
I think I'm just happy that during this time specifically, this like pandemic situation that we've been dealing with live music and with performing art, all that, that like, there are still people out there that, have gone out of their way to show support for it and, have come out of the woodwork, have donated money, have, purchased merchandise, have thrown $20 in our violin case, to help
people that realize that, like,
they also realize that it is a small business in some senses,
right.
that there's still payments that need to be taken into consideration,
or that music and entertainment is a valuable good,
right?
They're
right.
not like,
and they don't want to lose
people
it.
Like, there are people out there that would be like arts grants or something like that's ridiculous. Why would you do that? But then they'll watch a whole series on Netflix in like a night, it's like you consume entertainment and music and art all the time,
so there's
and
something
you don't
there.
even realize how
there's something there though.
But a lot of people nowadays are, and we had a lot of friends that like kept us going during quarantine and stuff, that we would do these live streams, and a couple of them specifically over and over again. Like it's amazing that we have that opportunity to, have people reach out like that, and that people do it.
Yeah, and it's the music, and that's the thing that I've also come to find, that it's like, of course, our friends that are close, that know us, that are like near and dear to us, that could come see us at any moment, they're the ones, of course, that are also, have reached out in that sense. But, these are people that have just listened to our music, have no idea who we are as people, and like, are taking on the songs that they hear in their own way. And like, I think that is such a, it's been reassuring. It's been a very reassuring thing, during this time, because it can be, to keep the mentality that you're succeeding in anything that you do, and any aspect of life. I think you want to see something happen from it. You want to see like, an end product. You want to see something like, and sometimes you don't see that, like too much, and your brain starts to think, is this something that's valuable? Is this something that I should continue to do? And so again, seeing that people are, putting forth, even just, money isn't the main thing, coming and talking to us, even so, still supporting some of the jam nights that we
even remembering that we're even still a thing during this time. It could very easily
just reaching out and sending us messages being like, thank you guys for continuing to do what you do. You bring me this in life, and that stuff to us.
Most of those are from Brandon, but
I got your back.
We know you do, man. You always have. That's another thing, an aspect that I kind of what from your side of it, from the side of someone who would just go see shows on the regular, not even just coming and supporting and selling merch for us or coming and being out there for us on the road, but like I don't even know what it feels like for the artist or for the person
the
listeners, and that to me is such a.
It's one of those things like you love music and not everybody does, but there's like it's hard to for those people that don't like it, it's hard because it's like there's not something tangible there.
Yeah.
So it's hard for people to like see what's even important about it.
Do you miss the live performances, the shows that are coming? Like, I mean, I know that like, it's nowadays it's like, oh, there's, most of the weekends in the past we would be going to a show Friday or Saturday night, do you miss that? Because again, it's a listener thing that I don't know the side of. And
absolutely. I mean, you go to shows too, though. So
I know.
It's the same thing for you.
You're right.
It's for a lot of people, concerts and performances, it's like instead of going to the movies or something, you go do that. Like it's just a different kind of. But like some people don't get that. Like it blows my mind when you meet someone who can like tell you every concert they've ever been to. Like it's like 5. They're like, I saw like Iron Maiden with my dad this one time, and then I like accidentally saw Chubby Checker at a state fair one time or something. Like that's the two.
Yeah. I can't remember any of the shows I've been to, honestly. I've been to so many.
It's just too many.
I can't remember either. It would be
impossible to.
I just as soon as we can get back to playing shows and some normality, it would, of course it's going to be nice, but I think being on the road, like I said, that was the thing that when you showed me that meme, it just made me laugh because it was like, where were we at when you took that picture? I don't remember seeing this one, and it looked like my truck, and like,
yeah, it almost like it makes me think like, is it just like Stockholm syndrome or something? It got so normalized to me.
Oh yeah,
that like when a hostage starts feeling for their,
they like get feelings.
Like that's how I'm like, is that what being a road band is? Like there's just some sick part of me that's like, yeah, abuse me, do it. It's very masochistic.
I'm sorry, dude. I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry.
Oh my God, I couldn't believe, and like that he was looking at you too. That was wild.
Louisville's a weird place. They still say like keep Louisville weird. Like that was like a huge thing. And remember those people that we met for that first time? Like I'm not going to tell the one story about, even unless you want to go into that. But those like people from the Rainbow family we met.
Oh yeah.
These people kept telling us like they were like we just had finished a show. They were giving us like a place to come to afterwards in Louisville, and they were good people, really good people. It was cold out. They didn't want us to be inside their house, so they kind of like built this fire in the back.
No, they didn't want. They like invited like everyone from the show, and they were like, when we got there, they're like, no one's allowed to go inside the house except you guys, and we were like, okay. So, but they had this awesome backyard. Like it was crazy. Like they had like built. Like found wood like all along the edge and like made like all these installations and stuff. It was cool. But yeah, then so they told us you guys are the only ones that get to come in the house and use our bathroom. Like they had a porta potty in their backyard. That's how like invested they were in this backyard thing.
They gave us a geography lesson. That was the thing that I remember initially. It was like, this is where the freaking what are those things called that are up there still? Icebergs or like what are that form all the land? Why can't I think of that right now?
Like where the icebergs or the glaciers.
The glaciers. He was like this is where the glaciers came down to the watershed and built this whole thing, and like we were like, okay, like we don't care. Like they were like, do you want some of this whiskey? And we're like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's like in the Bourbon Trail in Kentucky, and they give us this whiskey, and like I went to town on it. And so they tell us we're the only ones allowed to use their bathroom. So I know they know no one else is in their bathroom. I go in their bathroom and I tell myself, I'm like, you got to puke. And no way was I puking in this porta potty with a bunch of people that had just watched me play a show right outside the door, So I'm standing and I'm like trying to literally make myself puke, and it's just not happening. And so then I'm like, all right, like I tried for a while. So then I take a pee, flush the toilet, and I go to the sink to wash my hands. And as soon as I turned on the sink, I just puked. I was like, what the hell? I was just trying to make myself do this and couldn't. And then I puke, and the sink doesn't drain. And I was like, oh, they know I'm the only one that was in here. Like, what am I going to do? So then I got their plunger, and I plungered their sink, and it went down, and I cleaned up, and nobody could tell it ever happened.
Good thing
that's
you
what
were
a party professional does.
Party professionals. Good thing you were one of the only people that got to go in there.
I know.
You're like, yeah, come in. And then you just throw up in their sink.
They're like, hey, did you puke in my sink? No.
They knew.
Well, you're the only person that was in there.
They knew. This is the thing. They came out and they knew. But this is also the thing. This is beside the point. The major point of this is where these people, when the day these people got married, they were previously Rainbow Family. The day they got married happened to be the day there was a rainbow over the top of them. Amazing.
When you say previously,
yeah, they were
Rainbow Family.
already Rainbow Family before the wedding, and they had met each other through like rainbow gatherings and all this stuff. And then the day they got married, like they had this massive picture of it in their house, like it was massive. And like I remember seeing it and like being like, wow, like you know. But they were like, dude, so I'm telling you, like it was like the coolest thing ever. Like as soon as we like said our vows and everything, the rainbow like appeared, like it was like, and I was like, oh.
Did they smudge you with sage while they were telling you about it?
No, they didn't, but they could have. They could have easily done that. Like they were those type of people that would have gone that route, and I would have definitely accepted it because they were super nice. They were. I'm not, and you know, no hate towards the Rainbow Family. If there's any Rainbow Family members out there listening, don't please don't come find where I live on my haunted road and try to kill me. You know,
like rainbows come from storm clouds, right? Hey, buddy.
They were good people, and they took care of us. And I just felt like when we went to their house, the geography lesson, and then the fact that you puked up their bathroom, that was
a real special moment.
Yeah, we had laughs about that, later and throughout our lives. Now still,
yeah,
we're still talking.
We're
about
still
it.
laughing about me puking in that sink. Well, that being said, I think the Rainbow Fam thing kind of reminded me of the story that we have for our next segment with so I wanted to have an opportunity for like our friends. Everybody's got that one weird story that like you can't tell at work, or you can't tell to your family, or you don't want to tell your girlfriend or whatever, just that weird story. And we had one of our friends come in, and to protect their identity, we're gonna change their voice, and this person has been given the fake name Saul Harrigan. And just to sort of set up the story, he had, once again, the weirdness of social media. He had like matched up with his girl on Tinder, and so they set up a date to go to the Pierogi Fest, I believe.
Something of that nature. And
so she sends him the address, and she's like, when you get here, just come up and knock. And he's like, I'm meeting you through Tinder. I don't know if I really want to meet. I don't want to come up to your house. Just like, I'll let you know when I'm here and come out to the car and we'll go on the date. Like, she's like, no, I'm still getting ready. So just come up to the house. So I think I'll let him take the story from there.
Door. And as soon as I get up there, this woman opens the door. She's like, hey, really nice to see you. Nice to see you. Nice to meet you. My name's, I forget her name. She's like, it's me. She's like, okay, come on in. Have a seat. And
she's expecting you.
Yeah, being, very welcoming and shit, So I sit down on the couch, and there's two older ladies, like, well, before I get in, as soon as I walk in the door, she's like, I need to smudge you first.
I need to smudge you.
Smudge you. I had no idea what smudging was.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. So she lights up the sage, tells me to put my arms out like a fucking metal detector.
Yeah.
You know, and she starts smudging me with the sage. I have my arms out. She's like, turn around, starts saging my back and everything. I'm like, oh, okay. So I sit down next to these two old women. We're on the couch. And they start asking me how I know her. I'm like, well, you know, I know, they're like, how do you know Angie? Her name's Anna. You know, so I was like,
Okay.
maybe she goes by Angie with her
Right,
family.
it's a family name. Yeah.
You know, so I'm like, oh, you know, I know her through my friend Aaron and everything. They're like, oh, Aaron, yeah, we know Aaron. And so they're like, yeah, have a seat. So I sit down. We're just kind of sitting there, and two more older women walk in. They get smudged. You know, get the whole process.
Everybody's getting smudged.
You
Yeah.
can't walk in the house
You don't
without
get
getting
through
smudged.
without a smudging. Yeah.
Yeah. So as soon as they get smudged, they sit on the couch, and you know, I'm looking around waiting for this girl to come downstairs. I'm like, what? What are
I
you
don't know
doing?
how many smudgings I can withstand.
Yeah,
like, let's go.
Why would you invite me into this? Like meeting your
Yeah.
aunt, your grandma.
Right, like you've met me before, so you know I'm not like a smudging type guy.
No. No. So as I'm sitting there waiting for her, the woman starts talking. After this, you know, the moon, Jupiter, all the planets are aligned today. The energy is beautiful.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Oh, I was just thinking the same thing. I'm
Yeah.
glad you said it first.
perfect. Yeah, I thought it was just me. So she's like, after this, we're going to go out. We're going to have a nice fire. We're going to have a beautiful night. And that's when I start realizing, like, things aren't right, you know.
Yeah, we made plans to go somewhere.
Yeah.
We're not staying here for fire.
And she told me she was going to be out of the shower in 5 minutes. I'm waiting for her to walk down the stairs. She's not coming down. Then, as they keep talking about this fire, I text her. I'm like, am I at the right house? And she goes, no, dude, I don't see your car. I'm like, what?
Like, what do you mean, see my car?
What the
I'm
fuck?
inside the house.
Yeah.
I'm already in here, like,
You shouldn't
talking
see
to
my
I'm getting
car.
smudged.
You should hear my voice, you know?
Yeah.
So she's like, no, bro, you're not at the right house. I told her I just got smudged by a fucking stranger. I need to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
This is my first fucking word. So then she's like, dude, yeah, you need to get out of here. I was like, well, I can't.
Yeah, you're in the witch's den
Yeah,
now.
now, and I'm
All
in the
this
middle.
smudging and talking and Jupiter and
I don't-
fires and shit.
I don't know how they're going to react when I tell them I have to go.
Yeah.
So they keep talking. I realize I'm fucked. And she's like, hey, you know, don't worry. My husband's going to be here soon. You're not going to be the only guy here. You know, I start laughing. You know, I'm like, and then they're finally like, so how did you meet Aaron? I was like, this is my end. We don't know the same Aaron.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, honestly, I think I'm in the wrong house.
Yeah.
And they look at me, they go, not confused at all. They just look at me, they go, what do you mean? I'm like, I'm in the wrong house. I'm supposed to pick up Anna, and we're supposed to go to Pierogi Fest. And they're like, well, how do you know you weren't meant to be here?
Oh my God.
And yeah,
Yeah.
at that point, I'm like, trust me, I know I'm not supposed to be here. Like, I showed them the address that the girl gave me.
Mm-hmm.
It was the same number address, like 1123, but it was 211th Street. She lived on 212th Street.
Okay, you're 1 block over.
One block
just
over, but it's the same
at the
numbers.
witch house,
Same
yeah.
numbers. So I'm like, listen, I really appreciate your hospitality. It's been great being here, but I have to go. We got to go to Pierogi Fest.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, if you and Anna want to come back, it's an open door. You know, and I was,
They're like, the blood sacrifices at midnight, so, you know, if you guys get done early, you just...
the full moon is out. You know? So I was like, no, fuck this. I'm out of here. I fucking left. Drove to her house. I was like, what the fuck did you just set me up for?
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you not know your own address?
Maybe they, like, paid her. They knew the address, the number situation, and they were like, hey, look, you're going to send people over to our house.
I was supposed to be the sacrificial
You're
male.
going to be the sacrifice.
Not the lamb, but the sacrificial male.
Yeah.
It makes sense now.
Wow. How weird would it have been if like her husband showed up and he was just total like subservient Wiccan, like he was like getting all the goodies together for their crazy witch party that they were about to have.
Waiting for that random man to walk in the front door. He's like, yeah.
It's not me tonight. Yeah.
Then as soon as I picked her up, I told her the story. Her first reaction was, oh, you know what? I have a bunch of crystals in my room. Maybe I'd like to hang out with them. That'd be a fun time.
That sounds like fun. Let's go over there. Oh my God.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's psychotic. Now I
just left
feel
her
even more like she might be in cahoots.
Yeah, I was scared for my life, and now she wants to throw me back into this.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, so don't get smudged. Moral of the story.
Alrighty, well, yeah. That was the story by our good friend Saul Harrigan.
Shout out. Shout out.
Wow. Yeah, I cannot imagine being in that situation. And then when the girl is like into it, when he tells her that, like, if I was in that situation and then I found the right house in person and I told them that story, I would hope they would be like, oh my God, that is crazy. You're lucky you got out of there. But she was like, I'm kind of witchy. Maybe we do just skip Pierogi Fest and go back there. She was in on it.
The Pierogi Fest, the greasiest of all the festivals you can go to. I mean, come on, think about that. Just like you're gonna take her on the first date to like the slimiest, greasiest. Like,
yeah, let's go stuff ourselves with some potatoes and cheese and
her
dough.
breath is like just rank from garlic. Like they just scare people off, man. It's crazy.
You know, all of a sudden the witch party doesn't sound like such a bad idea.
Yeah, I mean Tinder though, for real.
Except no, the girl's in on it. It was like too perfect. He was about to get midsummered. Like they were going to use him in their ritual and murder him. And then he
like,
luckily
we need one man, so I want you to go on Tinder and set this up.
It's like a far-reaching cabal. Like they purposely bought these two houses because they knew the address mix-up would work. Mm-hmm. They were like, it's brilliant. You'll say you're at this house. Send them to this house.
We'll have a similar name. It'll work out.
I'll hammer him in the face, and we'll dance around his body by the fire because Jupiter's up there and stuff.
And we know we'll kill off all of his dead spirits because we're gonna smudge him.
Right.
We're gonna kill all the dead spirits right from the death, right from the get go. He'll be clean.
Wow. And that's dating in the social networking age. What the hell? You get smudged.
I think people take advantage of Tinder in the wrong way. It's essentially. I think that, if you're on Tinder and you're looking for just that, Tinder is not, it's not, JDate, it's not Hello Cupid, it's not any of these other ones where you're like beating around the bush, like I want to go on these dates with you. You're on the Tinder to smash. And, if you're on Tinder, why is that at that moment when you're on that app? Why is it at that moment now you're going to become picky? Oh, this one, I don't like you now. Like, fuck everybody on that. Like,
if you're horny enough to be on Tinder, you're horny enough to fuck everybody on Tinder.
Like, for real, who are you? I'm judgy now. I don't like you. You're not fucking cool enough. Cat dad, fuck that. You know what I mean? It's like, for real, like, fuck maybe you will find that dick from someone different that you'll love, you know what I mean? And you will fucking it's a new experience, like fucking, eating something that you
and that's like, why you always swipe right.
Good dick,
Yeah, new thing at a restaurant. It's like, try something different, you know what I mean? For real. Don't get on Tinder if you're going to be a fucking prude. That's all I'm saying.
And Stefan's directing all of this at girls on Tinder. He's like, I know the guys on Tinder.
I'm not on Tinder.
Fuck anyone on Tinder.
Right. The guys are always swiping right. It's the girls that you have to.
Yeah, for real.
Ladies, lower your standards.
Or get off Tinder. Get back on JDate for real, because you can beat around the fucking bush all day long.
Wait,
like,
what's JDate?
I have friends that like use it as
JDate is it's a dating site
for Jewish people.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Wait, do you have to be
of
Jewish,
fish is
or
for
if
the
you just
Christian
want to
one, I think.
date somebody that's Jewish?
It's only
They're
specifically
strictly Jews.
Strictly Jewish people to Jewish people.
It's like farmers only, but for Jews. But now they got Jewish farmers only. It's like they're really trying to like compact, like really nail it down.
Because people who are like love each other.
Eventually,
so much.
you have to pass a quiz to get on the different like dating sites and stuff. They're like, okay, well, do you ride a unicycle and like doing makeup and are good with archery? Like, what the hell? That's too specific.
Yeah, I mean, I would fucking hate to be someone fucking me. You know what I mean? I would hate to be fucking the same person as me in the girl form. You know what I mean? I would just be like,
oh yeah,
this
they
sucks,
found
dude.
Exactly.
Like, she
Like,
plays the violin.
my soulmate's gross. She's just like me.
She plays the violin. She's freaking like OCD like you are. She's fucking. She has too many leader tendencies that she tries to push off on everybody. She's a Leo. You know, they'd be like, oh fuck, and I'd just be banging her, and she'd be like, oh yeah, bro.
That's exactly what it would be like.
Because
oh my god,
she
you
would
painted such a vivid
because that's
picture.
what I would do, and I would laugh. You know what I mean? She would like find my comedy and dig in on it. You know what I mean?
No,
be better at it than me.
In reality, that doesn't happen. You get brought into the witch's coven and nearly don't make it out alive.
Amen.
And
to
instead,
Saul.
you go and eat some pierogies.
Yeah.
That being said, so for this first episode, our musical guest has been Stephan, but
Amen.
him and I, all of our stories involve each other, so he was just part of the whole podcast. But in future episodes, we're gonna get different local musicians to kind of come on here and give their experience of the wild and wacky world of performing and play some music for you and just spread the good word about what they're doing. So if you know any musicians or you are yourself a musician, feel free to reach out to us.
Yeah,
And-
if you want to suggest somebody because you want them to be be a guest. Do
Yeah.
that
Thank you
too.
for having me too, you guys.
Thank you for being on.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we're gonna go ahead and we'll just play one of our songs from our album. Congratulations to kind of be your little shining moment of musicality here.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll see you next time. Some people like us. Most people don't.
Stand there.